Have you ever had a moment, quiet, still, when you realized you had to ask for something you used to do yourself? Maybe it was reaching for the top shelf and needing someone's help. Maybe it was not driving at night anymore. Or asking your daughter to pick up your prescription, when years ago, you'd have walked to the pharmacy with ease. And then it hits you. Not like a sharp pain, but like a slow ache. You're not as independent as you used to be. That truth hurts. But what hurts more is how no one ever prepared you for it. Not when you were 60. Not when you turned 70. Not even after retirement. It just creeps in. Quietly. Bit by bit. Like water rising in a sinking boat. Today, we're going to talk about something very few people do. Not about getting older, but about what happens when you start losing control over your own life. Not because you gave it up, but because life slowly started taking it. And what I want you to know is this. You are not alone. You are not weak. And you still have more power than you think. Because the loss of independence is not a cliff you fall off. It's a path. A winding one. And there are ways to walk it, with dignity, with wisdom, and with strength. Let me take you into a story. George is 78. He was a factory foreman for 35 years. Raised 3 kids. Always fixed things himself, sinks, roofs, broken radios, anything. But last year, he slipped in the garden and broke his hip. The recovery was slow. The walker became a cane. Then came the chairlift. Then his daughter started buying his groceries. Then came the home nurse. And one day, he looked around and said, I used to run a team of 200 men. Now I need help to make toast. He wasn't angry. He wasn't crying. He was just stunned. That's the feeling no one talks about. The shock of seeing your freedom fade, not all at once, but one permission at a time. One day you stop driving. One day you stop cooking. One day someone starts making decisions for you, instead of with you. And people call it help. But to you, it feels like something sacred being taken away. This is one of the most common elderly reflections we hear. I don't mind aging. I mind being treated like I'm invisible. There's a kind of grief in losing your independence, grief that doesn't come with flowers or sympathy cards. Just quiet frustration. And the fear that no one sees you as you anymore. But here's the truth no one tells you. Independence after 70 isn't about doing everything alone. It's about having the freedom to choose. And that freedom doesn't disappear unless you give it away. Let me say that again. You don't lose independence when you accept help. You lose it when you stop having a say. That's the line we have to protect. Now I want to invite you to ask yourself a few real, raw questions. Are there areas in your life where you've given up control without realizing it? Are people making decisions for you that you could be part of? Are you afraid to speak up because you don't want to be seen as difficult? These questions aren't easy. But they open the door to something important, self-awareness. Take Maria, 75. She moved in with her son and daughter-in-law after a fall. At first, it was fine. Then they changed her diet without asking. Then they rearranged her bedroom. Then they got rid of her armchair because it looked too old. And she told us in a voice just above a whisper, I'm safe. I'm cared for. But I feel like a guest in my own life. That's not safety. That's a soft kind of prison. If you're nodding right now, if this feels familiar, I want to offer you something, permission. Permission to speak up. To ask for more say in your daily routine. To remind your family, I'm still here. I'm still me. I still matter. Because senior health isn't just about blood pressure and medication. It's about agency, your right to choose what happens in your life. Even if you need help dressing, you can still choose your clothes. Even if someone drives you, you can still decide where to go. Even if your memory slips, you can still say, talk to me, not around me. This is where elderly wisdom becomes your superpower. You've lived decades. You've raised families, fought battles, survived loss, built homes, held others together. Don't let anyone take your voice now. And if you're someone who feels like independence is slipping, let's talk about how to hold on. First, be honest with yourself. Don't pretend everything's fine if it's not. But don't dramatize either. Ask, what can I still do well? Start there. Build from there. Second, ask for collaboration, not control. When someone wants to help, say, yes, I'd appreciate help, but can we do it together? That simple request restores your power. Third, document your wishes. Write down your preferences. Where you want to live. What routines matter to you? What makes you feel alive? What makes you feel like you? And finally, reclaim the word independence. It doesn't mean stubbornness. It means sovereignty. As one of our life lessons from the elderly says, even a candle needs a spark. But it still decides where the light shines. You are that candle. And you still shine. Let's pause for a moment. You've lived long enough to know that losing independence doesn't happen all at once. It starts small. Someone else orders for you at the restaurant. You let your daughter pick out your clothes when shopping. You stop voicing your opinion during family discussions because it's just easier to stay quiet. And bit by bit, the world stops asking you. Stops waiting for your opinion. Stops involving you. Not because they're cruel, but because you've silently trained them to believe you don't mind. But deep down, you do. This is something we've heard from so many in our Elderly Reflections community. I don't need to be in control of everything. I just don't want to disappear. Let me say this clearly. You have every right to stay involved. In your health. In your home. In your relationships. In your choices. Even if you need assistance, your voice still matters. So how do we hold on to that voice? How do we stay independent, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and socially? Let me share with you 4 practices that many seniors have used to reclaim their sense of control and keep it. First, start each day by choosing something. Anything. It sounds simple. But making choices keeps your mind sharp and your sense of identity strong. Maybe it's choosing what to wear. Maybe it's deciding what to eat for breakfast. Maybe it's picking the music you listen to, the book you read, or the seat you sit in. These micro decisions remind your brain, I'm still in charge of my life. When you stop choosing, even in small ways, others begin to fill in the blanks. Take Walter, 83. He lives with his grandson. At first, he didn't want to get in the way. So he let them do the grocery shopping. Pick meals. Rearrange the kitchen. 3 months later, he told us, I walked into my own kitchen and didn't know where the salt was. That scared me. So he started with one thing, breakfast. He planned it. He made it. He chose it. Then he added a second thing, his own weekly shopping list. Slowly, his sense of ownership returned, not just in the kitchen, but in his whole life. It's not about being demanding. It's about staying involved. Because independence is a muscle. The more you use it, the longer it stays strong. Second, set boundaries around help. Not everything offered should be accepted. This may sound strange, especially when people mean well. But too much help can actually do harm. Not physical harm, but emotional shrinking. We've seen this in senior care homes, in families, even in friendships. Someone starts doing things for you without asking. They assume you can't or shouldn't. And little by little, your role changes from participant to passenger. Let me tell you about Joan, 76. After a surgery, her daughter moved in to help. At first, it was a blessing. But soon, Joan noticed her daughter was making all the decisions about meals, bills, even who could visit. One afternoon, Joan looked around and whispered, I feel like a child in my own home. That was her turning point. She didn't push her daughter away. She just had a gentle, honest conversation. "Thank you for helping. But I still want to be asked, not managed." And the shift was profound. Help should never feel like a hand over your mouth. It should feel like a hand beside yours. So if someone starts doing too much, pause and say, "I appreciate this, but I'd like to be part of the process." That's not rude. That's elderly wisdom. That's owning your space. Third, create a space that reflects you, not just your age. One subtle way independence slips away: when our surroundings no longer feel like ours. Furniture gets replaced for safety. Decor gets removed because it's clutter. Rooms are rearranged for convenience. Before you know it, your home feels like a waiting room. Clean, functional, but soulless. Independence is also about identity. And your environment should reflect your history, your values, your energy. Keep the photos you love. Display the colors that feel like you. Keep the chair that holds your body just right, even if it's a little worn. Take back ownership of your space. Paul, 79, told us this story. His family insisted on removing his bookshelves, said they were dusty and dangerous. He let them. Regretted it instantly. A month later, he asked them to help put it back. "I don't read as much anymore," he said. "But seeing my books reminds me that I've lived a thinking life." That's inspiration we all need. So don't be afraid to preserve your atmosphere. It's not clutter. It's context. It tells your story, even when you're silent. Fourth, speak up, even if your voice shakes. This might be the hardest, and the most powerful. Because sometimes, the loss of independence isn't about physical ability. It's about emotional silence. You don't want to offend. You don't want to be the difficult one. So you swallow your preferences, your routines, your needs. And over time, people stop asking. Because they assume you don't care. But you do. You've just gotten used to hiding it. Let me offer you this: every time you stay silent to keep the peace, you trade a little piece of your independence. So speak. Say what matters to you. Even if it's small. Even if it makes someone uncomfortable. Even if your voice cracks or your words don't come out perfect. One viewer in our Life Lessons from the Elderly series said, "My voice is weaker than it used to be. But the words mean more now." Powerful. You've earned your say. Don't retire your voice before your story is finished. Let's take a breath together. None of these practices are dramatic. They don't require perfect health, big money, or big speeches. They just require presence. The willingness to stay involved. The courage to speak your truth. The wisdom to say, "This is still my life, and I'm still writing it." That, my friend, is what true independence looks like after 70. And it's not about how much you do alone. It's about how much of yourself you refuse to lose. So tonight, before you sleep, ask yourself, what is one area in my life where I've stepped back too far? What is one small way I can reclaim it tomorrow? Because it's not about going backward. It's about reconnecting to who you still are. And if you need help doing it, ask. But ask with clarity. Ask in partnership. Ask from a place of strength. You are not a burden. You are a library. A legacy. A light. And you deserve to live on your own terms, whatever that looks like now. There's something powerful about being needed. And something even more powerful about needing no one, but still choosing to love, to ask, to connect. For many seniors, losing independence feels like losing identity. But what if we saw it differently? What if, after 70, independence wasn't about what you can do alone, but about what you choose to stay involved in? Not proving you're still strong, but protecting what still gives you meaning. Not avoiding help, but choosing your help. You see, we've met so many incredible people, aged 70, 80, even 95, who are thriving, not because they're doing everything on their own, but because they're doing one thing every day that reminds them, this is still my life. It could be as simple as folding their own laundry, watering their plant every morning, making one cup of tea for themselves, by themselves, writing in a journal, sending a postcard, choosing what to wear, even if someone else lays it out. Small acts. Big message. I'm still here. I still matter. I still get to choose. That's senior independence. That's not rebellion. That's resilience. And if you've ever felt like your choices are fading, if you've ever caught yourself whispering, I don't want to be a burden, then hear this. You are not a burden. You are someone whose wisdom can teach others how to age with grace. You are someone whose presence still brings light into a room. You are someone who still gets to decide what your days look like, even if your body has changed. In fact, some of the most inspiring life lessons from the elderly come from people who had less mobility, but more clarity. Like Marianne, 88, who told us, my legs don't work like they used to, but my choices still do. Or Howard, 91. I can't drive anymore, but I still choose the music I listen to, the poems I recite, the people I call. This is what no one tells you when you're young. That independence at 75 doesn't look like 35. But it doesn't have to. You evolve. And your power evolves with you. So let me ask you, have you given up parts of your routine that you didn't really need to let go of? Have you stayed silent when you should have spoken, just to keep the peace? Have you let others decide what's best for you without inviting your opinion? If yes, don't blame yourself. You were doing what felt easiest at the time. What kept things calm. What kept things moving. But maybe it's time to come back to yourself. Not to be loud. Not to resist help. But to remind everyone around you, and maybe even yourself, that you still have something to say. And what you say, how you feel, what you choose, still matters. Maybe today is the day you say, I'd like to pick my own clothes again. I want to try cooking something on my own. I miss choosing what's on my calendar. It doesn't matter how big or small the step is. What matters is that the step is yours. Because when you live from a place of choice, everything feels lighter. Even help feels different. Support becomes partnership. Assistance becomes empowerment. Your world starts to feel like yours again. And that's the kind of elderly wisdom we want to amplify. Not just survival, but self-direction. Not just being taken care of, but being heard. So what now? What do you do with all this? You start simple. Tonight, before you go to bed, sit down with a notebook. Write this question at the top. Where in my life do I want to reclaim a little more say? Then let the answers come. Don't judge them. Maybe it's how you spend your mornings. Maybe it's who you talk to. Maybe it's asking your family to consult you before making medical decisions. Maybe it's as personal as the brand of soap in your bathroom. Nothing is too small. Because independence isn't about the size of your voice. It's about whether you're still using it. And if writing isn't your thing, say it out loud. To yourself. To your spouse. To a trusted friend. Or even here, in the comments. Tell us. What's one thing you want to reclaim control of this year? Not just for yourself, but for everyone who reads it and thinks, maybe I can do that too. That's how we build something beautiful together. A community where seniors don't disappear into silence, but rise into their wisdom. Where independence isn't a fading memory, but a living, breathing part of every day. So thank you. Thank you for showing up. For caring enough about your life to learn something new. For being the kind of person who asks hard questions and listens for honest answers. You're not invisible. You're not done. You're not just an old person. You are a force. And no one gets to decide who you are, except you. As we always say in this community, independence isn't what you hold on to. It's what you stand for. And you, my friend, still stand strong. So go, choose something today. Speak your truth. Shape your day. And if you ever feel like you're losing yourself, come back here. We'll remind you exactly who you are. Until next time, stay strong. Stay sovereign. Stay you. We're with you, always.